an absolutely gorgeous dish. This chicken and dumplings is one you're definitely going to remember. Today I'm going to be making some chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings. I wanted to do this dish for quite some time now, and I've had a lot of people asking me for it. Here's the thing. I wanted to do a really good chicken and dumplings for you. Something that's extremely rich, full-bodied. Something that is reminiscent of what might have been enjoyed on the farm when my mom was a little girl. This is just a dish that goes way back, and it goes way back in my family and in a lot of other people's. There's a lot of different approaches to it. So today I want to show you my approach, how I do it. Chicken and dumplings, it's a delicious recipe. It's going to be worth your time. Now before we get in the kitchen, want to mention, hey, got the merchandise out for Texas Cooking Today. The first cap, there's going to be some other items coming very soon. Also, as soon as I can get the work done, we're going to be putting those recipes on there as well. Now something else, while you're on my website, you can take a look at some other stuff I've got, like shirt. Yeah, really cool looking shirts, okay? I got some great merchandise on there. So take a look at that. That's S.A.Trotter.com. Now before we get into the kitchen here, I want to mention there's a couple of different recipes you're getting here. One is how to cook up that chicken and the vegetables and stuff we do with it, how I thicken it all up, but also how we do the dumplings. That's a whole different thing. So it's kind of a double thing. And at the end, I'm going to do something really special, a different way of preparing and serving up chicken and dumplings. Let's get in the kitchen. Come on. Now folks, I have all of my ingredients laid out here. Right over here, I have a big, beautiful chicken. This is just a roaster, okay? Get your chicken, throw it in a pot. We're going to put water in there to cover it, and then we're going to slow cook that sucker until the meat falls off of the bone. Now other items you're going to want for this dish, and what I'm using today, are some carrots. I like plenty of carrots in this type of dish. Also, I've got some poblanos back here. These are delicious. You can also substitute bell pepper for this if you want. Remember, this is about using just what's available. I have some jalapeno. I have also some shallots. Now, I normally would do this with an onion, but I saw these in the store and I thought, you know what, those are gorgeous shallots. I'm going to grab them. We're going to put them to use and make this just a very interesting, rich dish. For our flavors, we have some garlic, thyme, rosemary, black pepper, and salt. And also I'm going to be using some white wine in this. I have back here some cornstarch, and I'll be using that later on to thicken things up a little bit. We have to get everything cooked first. Now you see there's no ingredients here for the dumplings. That's a different recipe. The dumplings are going to be using some flour, baking powder, some butter, lard, and some milk. So that we'll get into in a little bit, but first let's get started by cooking our bird. Now we don't want to cut up any of this until after the bird has been cooked, okay? I have water on my chicken now. I'm going to go ahead and add my herbs and my garlic at this point also. So that's a good time to cook it, is with the chicken, and then the vegetables, we do that separate after the chicken's cooked, all right? So this is our first part, step number 1. As you can see, I have my herbs down in here. My garlic is in here also, just a little bit of salt. I'm waiting for this to come to a boil. As soon as it does, I'll cover it, and I'll just gently simmer this until the chicken comes completely free of the bone easily. Now folks, as you can see over here, I have some sliced veggies, and I'm about to get started on the shallots. Just get yours cut up into some simple pieces that'll cook up real nice as a item for, well, chicken and dumplings. So you're looking for good bite-sized pieces, nothing too large. The shallots, like onions, will cook down and be tender, so it's not so important the size. I'm just going to cross-cut rings and make it very simple. Now folks, the chicken is falling off of the bone, so I've pulled it out and set it aside to cool. I've placed all of my vegetables into the stock. I'm bringing those up in temperature. We're going to be cooking these until they're nice and tender. Now folks, don't forget, add a little bit of wine while you're cooking those vegetables down, all right? I'm going to be using a Chardonnay for this, something nice and dry. Well, now that I have my vegetables up and cooking and they are over a low flame just simmering, I'm going to now take my bird, pull the meat away from the bone, and get busy shredding it out. Now anything that's like cartilage or bone or skin that you don't want, put in one bowl. Oops, I got it backward. And all of your meat in the other bowl. And you want some nice little bite-sized pieces. Don't shred it down too small, okay? Well, looky there, I've got that chicken all shredded out. My veggies are cooking down here in this pot, and over here, all ready for the rolled biscuits. Now, this is a simple biscuit recipe, but it's heavy in fat. So what I'm using is a little over a half a stick of butter here, and it's about 5 tablespoons of butter. And I have a similar quantity of lard. You can also use shortening for this if you want. Now I have 2 cups of flour up here, a little extra flour back there to flour the board and work my hands. I have a pastry blender to cut in the fats. And I have more milk than is commonly used for biscuits, about 3/4 of a cup. You may need a little more, but that should be enough. I've also got some baking powder and some salt. And this makes for a simple, basic biscuit recipe, but biscuit recipe is what is used for dumplings, folks. And it makes a really good one, especially if it's a biscuit recipe high in fat. That's sort of the little trick here. So we're going to get these made and cut, and then we can boil them in our drippings over here, right down there in that pot. We'll set them aside as we cook them, and then we move on to the next step, which is, well, it's going to be the one thing that really separates this one out. Now folks, I have my biscuits all made and cut out over here, and they're ready to go. I have this, and I've brought it up to a good vigorous boil. Now I don't want that to be as intense of a boil, so I can take it down just a little bit. I do need it to boil when I'm cooking my dumplings, but I don't need it to be just outlandish. And then I need a place to put the dumplings after they cook, so have you a little baking sheet to the side. That way you don't have to crowd your pan as you're cooking these. We're going to cook about 10 at a time, maybe a little more. And it takes 10 minutes for your dumpling to cook. As it cooks, it's going to puff up, but also it's going to thicken that liquid a little. 2, 4. A little tidbit that you don't get from most folks. When you're cooking these, do not put the lid on here. Don't steam them. If you do, they overcook, they get too soft on top, and they just kind of come apart on you. What we're looking for is to get the biscuit to rise, to cook the majority of the way, and then I can pull them out, let them firm up, and we move on to our next step. And that next step is going to be thickening this, putting the chicken in there, and seasoning it out. Once it's all perfect, I'm going to line another pan. We'll put these dumplings on top, and then we're going to cook it with some cheese just to melt over the top of it. Now folks, after I put my dumplings down in there, look at that beautiful thing, I went ahead, cook each of them up for 10 minutes. Just throw them in the liquid, give them a nice cook. Actually it can be 8 to 10 minutes, but you know, that in that general vicinity. Now, if you'll notice, I'm pulling these things back out, setting them aside, because what we do next is add our chicken back in, thicken the whole thing up. Now that I have my dumplings out, I'm about to add my chicken in there, and then I want to season it up, and then I'll thicken it. And I don't thicken it until the end, because all of these things kind of change the viscosity of my liquid over here. So you don't thicken until the very end, all right? And pepper at the end also, because you don't want to lose that wonderful peppery flavor. I've got some grated Parmesan to the side over here, and I'll be using that in a moment to top the whole thing. Now folks, I have all of my liquid thickened and transferred right to this pot. The dumplings on top, little overlap on those. Take your cheese and top over that, put it in 400-degree oven. Okay, let's get this down into the oven. Toast it off, finish it off, and make it beautiful. Now today I started with a fairly good sized chicken. This is just a large roasting chicken. As far as how many pounds, I can't really tell you guys. I just bought a large bird, so look at it that way. I have 4 good-sized carrots, a couple of poblanos. You're going to be using anywhere from 2 to 3 onions, depending on the size. If they're small onions, 3, 2 medium-sized onions, or maybe just 1 large. Or I'm doing a variety of shallots. There's no real definitive measurement here. You just want a good amount. All right. I've also got some jalapenos there, 3. Now, when it comes to the thyme, I'm using about 5 sprigs of thyme, and that you can tie together and put in the pot. It's not necessary, but it makes it easier to fish out later. 4 cloves of garlic, about a tablespoon of rosemary, and on the salt, we'll use salt to taste, and that starts with a couple of teaspoons. And the same thing on the black pepper, but I usually use at least a couple of teaspoons of black pepper in this particular dish. The wine back there, we'll be using as much as you really want, up to about a half a bottle. And then on the cornstarch, it only takes a few tablespoons of that mixed with some wine to really get things thickened up. All right, I believe now it is time for a little dishing up and enjoying. That looks just downright delicious. And it really is good. Tell you now. Oh, dumplings. You get a little of the Parmesan melted into them. Tell you what, they're good. Really good. I'm going to enjoy this evening. Folks, I know you're going to enjoy your chicken and dumplings. I know you're going to love this recipe, and thank you very much for watching. If you would, take a look at the channel. That's Texas Cooking Today. Got a lot of recipes on there, all kinds of stuff on there. And if there's a suggestion or request, feel free to pipe up. I don't know what you're thinking, so get in the comment section and give a request. Take a look at my website. That's S.A.Trotter.com. You're going to find some really cool t-shirts. You're going to find beautiful prints. You're going to find the stuff for Texas Cooking Today. And, well, you're just going to find a really cool website. It's just getting started, but it's going to grow. Folks, I'll be putting my recipes on that same website in the weeks to come. So enjoy this one, and thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Ooh, yeah.